Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilker. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey there guys, I'm Callan McAuliffe and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Survivors, welcome to another fine episode of The Walking Dead Talk Through. I'm Brian.
And I'm Mark.
And tonight we are discussing Season 10, Episode 7 in our 106th episode of The Walking Dead Talk Through, titled Open Your Eyes. And I know it's not Open Your Eyes, but every time I heard this episode, I think of Quato.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. Because he said, open your mind to me. Open your mind. Anyway.
Do you leave a Muppet? Do you actually believe a Muppet that's doing it? Open your mind.
Anyway, so this is Open Your Eyes. But first, we actually have a lot of feedback. We got a lot of feedback in general this week. But we have some feedback for last week. Season 10, Episode 6, Bonds.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right. So the first one, I think we're going to split it. I'll start.
Yeah.
And it's from our Twitter friend, Ken from Chicago. We missed a couple of things, I think, last week, but that continues. And he actually sent us feedback this week as well. So, but we're going to start. And he says, belatedly, congrats on your 100th episode. And he has clapping emoji, and clapping emoji. And I'll say, thank you, Ken. I think you're the first one to congratulate us, actually. He says, even through the low points of the show, Brian and Ruthie always made the podcast great. And some of you, it's been a while now, because, I mean, Mark's been my co-host now for 2 years, but Ruthie, of course, was the first host of The Walking Dead Talk Through with me. So, and of course, she's my partner in crime on the Star Trek Discovery podcast and the Star Trek Picard cast. But yeah, we miss her on here. But thankfully, Kyle and Mark have succeeded her, and we we're okay.
We have fun.
We're doing all right. I mean, the male female balance is not there anymore, but oh well. But we still have that on the Star Trek. But anyway, I just bring all that up if you're new listeners. One thing, Brian, you were worried about all the hashtag fear TWD references to those who only watch hashtag Walking Dead. It's your podcast. You and your co-host can talk through what you want. That said, after 30 minutes in the season debut, you never said why you didn't like the other show. In fact, in every episode since, you've knocked hashtag fear TWD without saying why. That's a little off-putting. Each mention raises my curiosity as to what issues you had with the show that is never answered. Clearly, it's something big. Otherwise, both of you wouldn't keep citing it. And then he says, I know why I dropped hashtag Fear the Walking Dead. Season 2, Episode 1. 10 minutes in, the gang was on Strand's yacht and got a radio call for help. Madison wanted to answer. Her boyfriend did not. That was a total reversal of their season 1 personas. She'd never risk her family. He'd never be so cold. Hashtag no more bad writing. I was already miffed at hashtag Walking Dead at the time. Hashtag Glenn's dumpster. And leery of another show with bad writing. Hashtag Fear the Walking Dead season 1 was decent, showing the initial downfall. It was nice going against the stereotype of the female lead being caring and the male callous. Reversing it for season 2? Nope. Okay, so then he goes more into The Walking Dead, but I guess we'll nip this in the bud a little bit. For those of you that yes, we have mentioned the fear and how, we've talked about it. So I don't want to get into it too much because there's a lot to cover this week, but I think we talk about it so much because in season 3 of Fear, I think it was better than both season 7 and 8 of The Walking Dead. I mean, that was by far the best season of that show. And they had a season ender, season finale that was literally like, you just couldn't help but wonder where the show was going to go after that. And from there, they had a couple of big things happen the first part of season 4. And then it took a really sharp turn and it has been going downhill ever since. And, again, I don't want to talk about it too much because we've talked about it for 67 episodes as Fear the Walking Dead talk through. So if you're really curious, listen to that. But for those of you that haven't bothered with it, I think the main issue that both of us have, Mark, you can say what you say, agree or disagree, or if you have anything more to say. It's been the disappointment of where the story's gone since season 3 for me. And they had a showrunner change and they made some changes to the show. And they brought in some characters that, for the most part, most of them have been really good, like even great. John Dory,
June,
Althea. Those three especially have been fantastic. Sarah and Wendell, they're good. I like Grace, but the problem with it is because they've given them no story. They've got these great characters, and the story is terrible. Like if you can imagine The Walking Dead where nothing's going on, like it's like literally they're just helping people. And, for that matter, it might as well be Highway to Heaven or Quantum Leap or, some kind of, do-gooder type show. There've been many kind of episodic shows like that.
Yeah. No Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like that, but in a serialized way. So, they have these enemies, the enemies that have no teeth. We went, a whole season where nobody died. Right?
Yeah.
And other than, a couple of minor characters, not even like on our side, but basically nobody died. Well, okay, possibly somebody died, but at the end, but anyway, it just really made poor decisions. And that's why we finished the season so disappointed. And everyone to a person that I know, well, I shouldn't say that. There are some people that still love the show, and we still love the show. It's not that we hate the show. We're just disappointed.
Well, we're disappointing with the writing. We're
Yes.
happy with the characters,
Yes.
how the actors portray it, how
Mhm.
they're convicted in actually doing the actual story and plot.
Yeah.
And, you could see that they are working. They are doing their job and making us love each character. It's just the poor writing involved within that show.
It's a plot,
Yeah.
I think. So anyway, again, not to go too much more into it. I think that's all that we need to say. And, if we got into more of it, it would be, spoilerific. But we talk about it in detail on Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through. And if you're curious, just, listen to us and, have a good laugh. Because that's the one thing that Mark and I will agree on for sure. Kyle, who normally does our editing, hopefully hopefully he'll be with us next week for the mid-season finale. But the three of us, we had a lot of fun covering it. And I know other podcasts struggled with it, and some even quit the show in season 5.
Oh, yeah.
But we had fun with it. And, because it just, again, it's like Mark said, we love the characters. It's just that what they're having them do is dumb. So,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So let's continue, and I'm going to send it off to you. You continue it.
Well, it continues on saying, if I had known about Walking Dead's season 7 and 8, I'd have been on it then. That said, I've really enjoyed the show with Angela Kang running it since season 9, especially with Rick gone. It's more of an ensemble. Characters have full personas, and there's joy, which makes tragedies hurt more. With a big thumbs up.
Yeah, and what Angela Kang has been doing is in a lot of ways the exact opposite of what they've been doing on there. It's that like they're really taking the show and making good characters. I mean, not everything's perfect. There's some things that they've done I question, but it's decidedly so much better the way the story's written. And there are things that'll come up that you'll say is weak, or you'll say is a what sauce, and it's explained later. And I know this for a fact because I've seen the cold open for next week.
Yep.
There are many, many things that will be discussed in this and preceding or, other episodes. There are going to be some things explained, things that we saw in this episode even that will be explained next week.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a spoiler? I don't know.
Not really.
No. All will be told.
Yes.
I don't know about all, but a lot. So, yeah.
He continues on saying, speaking of joy, nothing brings me more joy than both of you doing not quite perfect and all the funnier still impersonations of Alpha. What did I tell you about crossing my border? With the big three smiley crying face emojis.
And of course, I have to give my attempt. What did I tell you about crossing my border?
Yeah, the border. As for last night's episode, just realized Carol's hair is short again. You were right about sick folk. I missed it. Was that lady bringing the electronics making googly eyes at Eugene? LOS equal line of sight, which helps in radio transmissions. Timeline confirmed. 8 years.
Yes, 8 years. And I'll say something about that with this episode. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, belatedly, #awesome sauce for last week's episode. Carol and Daryl running through a forest laughing, jumping, sitting, tossing rocks at a can, spying on whispers, looking at the hordes, hoping to avoid contact or catch a man. A lot of musical emojis and a big crying smiley face emoji. Oh, laughing emoji, I should say. What? Come on, Eugene, you made contact with another civilization. You're telling nobody? Even no one else using the shortwave, you gotta tell the powers that be. Don't be stupid, you genius. Big smiley open. No. By the way, so it's not beat up of hashtag Fear the Walking Dead segment, but what if you discuss... What?
I said, well, it kind of is.
It is, yeah. What if you discuss what you wish the show would relearn from what The Walking Dead is doing right? Fans of the latter could gain greater appreciation of their show, and the powers of that be of the former could relearn what to work on. Hashtag win-win.
Yeah, so to that, I will say that I think where they've done it right has been that they've introduced interesting characters on the show. Even Virginia, I think it has a lot of potential, which is a recent character on the show. But they need to have a plot that has consequences and drama, and it can't be this kind of simple, objective where, like, it's not good storytelling. Like last season, they brought in this hurricane, and yeah, well, there was potential for the hurricane, but they goofed it up. I think they didn't do everything that they could have done with it. And this time, they have time and distance problems as well. That's the other thing. So, but here you have Alpha and the Whisperers that are a worthy adversary, and scary. And the people that we see them come up against, they're either like one person, what's her name? Martha was, filthy woman, or they're not doing anything that's like really evil. It's just like, philosophical differences,
Yeah.
if anything. So there's not enough drama there. So they need more conflict, and that's where I think the show could improve, and hopefully it will.
Yeah.
All right. So we got another bit of feedback. This is actually regarding our last episode. And I'll bring this one up because Megan from Pennsylvania says, here's some feedback for your podcast on Bonds. There is no way Nadia Hilker is from New Jersey, Mark. She didn't say Mark, but I did.
Yeah.
I had also heard she's from Germany. Her speech is so stilted and syntax so off in her recorded greeting for your podcast. I was sure English is not her primary language. For example, she says, I'm playing Magna. LOL, unless she meant she was literally in character at that moment. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I could elaborate on that. And a lot of people that are listening to the podcast have not gone to FanFest or Walker Stalkers. I, myself, and my niece had went to FanFest Heroes and Villains, where they did a Walker Stalker panel. And they had Nadia, they had Cassidy McClincy, they had Dan Fogler on a panel. And that's when Nadia actually mentioned that she lived a stone's throw away from the actual venue, meaning that she lived in New Jersey for a long while at some point. So I do believe that she was born and raised a little bit in Germany and then brought to the States. But she did live in New Jersey for a long period of time at some point. I don't know how long, but she stated that she still has that house. So that's somewhere near Edison. So Just to
Yeah.
just to correct Megan, just to let her know that I'm not saying that she grew up in New Jersey. I'm just saying that she lived in New Jersey at some point in time.
Yeah, and my take on it was that, I'll hear someone say, I grew up in New Jersey. And, when you dig in a little bit more, it's like, from the ages of 13 to 15 or something like that, and not like their entire, childhood. So I don't think that what she said is wrong or what you said is wrong.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's like, especially from what I understand, she was a model. Well, models move around a lot. And if she was based out in New York for a while as a model, as a young model, like 14, 15, 16, I don't know, whatever age that models start, she could have literally, grown up some in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So it's not out of the possibility, but yeah, she definitely does not have an accent that suggests that she's from the United States.
Well, think of it also this way. Lauren Cohan actually was born in New Jersey, and then she went to England.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's and her accent is English, but it's kind of like a softer English. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's not, I've heard a lot stronger English accents is what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's it for past episodes. So let's get on with a monumental episode, episode of The Walking Dead, season 10, episode 7, Open Your Eyes, as I had previously mentioned. That was written by Corey Reed, and you may know his name, and if you don't, you should, because he has written a lot of episodes of The Walking Dead. Probably the only ones I can think of that are still on the show, if you consider Gimple, although he's kind of, above the show now, but still he's involved. So I'd say Gimple and Angela Kang have written more episodes, but he would probably be third of the team that's still there. So what has he written, you may ask? Well, he has written or co-written the following episodes. I'm going to say them really quickly. Season 5, episode 3, 4 Walls and a Roof. Huge episode. Season 5, episode 6, Consumed. And I forgot to say 4 Walls and a Roof was written with Angela Kang. Consumed was written with Matthew Negretti. He wrote solo another really good episode, season 5, episode 13, Forget. That was the one where Carol said, I'll tie you up and send in the monsters or give you cookies. Season 6, episode 5, Now. Another famous episode. Season 6, episode 10, The Next World. And that was, of course, the first episode with Jesus. That was with Angela Kang. Probably my least favorite episode of the series, but not because it wasn't well written. It was just so depressing. Season 7, episode 4, Service. Another one with Angela Kang, season 7, episode 7, Sing Me a Song. Season 7, episode 15, Something They Need. Season 8, episode 6, The King, the Widow, and Rick with Angela Kang. Season 8, episode 7, Time for After with Matthew Negretti. If I had to guess, I would say that they took 2 parts of a story that he wrote and combined it with the other 2 episodes. I don't know if that's true, but because they're so close together, I would have to think something like that happened. Season 8, episode 10, which I remember was a really good episode, The Lost and the Plunderers. And that was with Angela Kang and Channing Powell. The Key, season 8, episode 12, with Channing Powell as well. Season 8, episode 15, Worth, which was with The Mouthful, also known as David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. Solo on season 9, episode 3, Warning Signs, and season 9, episode 9, Adaptation. And then season 9, episode 14, Scars, which was that crazy one where we
With the kids.
And that was with Vivian Say.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this one is the 17th. So, good on you, man. Anyway, he's a co-executive producer on the show, and obviously been there since season 5, and directed by none other than Michael Cudlitz. And this is his third time directing The Walking Dead since he left the show. Last season he directed Stradivarius, season 9, episode 7. And just a few weeks ago, he directed season 10, episode 4, Silence the Whisperers. So the description is Carol pushes boundaries that make Daryl uncomfortable. That sounds very personal space kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Alpha and Beta make reservations about someone. And I wonder about that. Beta wasn't in this episode, was he?
Not really.
So this is a crappy description.
Yeah.
So, all right. Our ratings. What did you think of Open Your Eyes?
Well, I give it 9.5 out of 10. I knew that Dante was so creepy he had to be a whisperer spry.
And I also have to bring up Dante in my rating. And I'm right in that 9.5 area, but I had to dock it slightly from that. And because I didn't want to call it a 9.5, because if it's a 9.5, it's great. So I'm giving it a 9.499. Dante's The Real Enids. All this time, Enid was supposed to be a spy, and she wasn't a spy, and we finally got a real spy. So, yes.
Took a few seasons.
Yeah, it took a few seasons. I just wonder what Jason from Talking Dead, the Talking Dead podcast, is saying now, because he's got his real Enid spy.
She's
He
gone
should drive
now.
me crazy. He's probably still bringing up Enid, but on this anyway, I didn't
We
get to
love you,
listen to them. Yeah, I don't think he listens. Okay, so let's hear from other listeners. What did they think? Mark, why don't you start it?
So Steve from Oklahoma City gives it 9.75 out of 10. Now we know why Sadiq was obsessed with Dante's mouth. Too soon?
All right, so my near namesake, Brianna from Montana. No, she's not my namesake. Okay. I always get a kick out of that when somebody has Brianna or Brienne as the name. It's like 9.5. Oh, by the way, Brianna, thank you. I know you're fairly new to the Facebook group, so thank you for joining us. 9.5 mouth clicking noises used as subliminal message stimuli. At least that's what I think Dante was doing. I added that part. Dieta says, I rate this episode 9 out of 10. No more doctors in the house. Yes, I have a lot to say about that.
Well, LT from NC says, I'm going for 9 out of 10 water motifs. And Glennis from Toronto says 9 out of 10 Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. I like that one. All right, so let's move on to Awesome Sauce.
Well, Brianna from Montana says, Gamma forgetting herself and ending up killing a quote-unquote guardian right in front of Alpha. Oopsie daisy. Big smiley crying face emoji.
Megan from Pennsylvania, she says, when the Whisperer made the lewd comment to Carol about taking her like a bitch in heat, the look on Daryl's face as if to say, oh shit, he gone did, was priceless. Yep.
Yeah. Well, LT from NC says, my awesome sauce this episode is direction by Cutlets. I think he may be the Frakes of The Walking Dead. I miss Abraham as a character, but I think he has a gift behind the camera. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I think he did a great job this episode.
I think he's going to knock it out of the park. And what is it? I keep getting this. I'm going to say Monument. So apparently he's done 3 episodes so far.
It is Monument. We just don't know the title of the show yet.
Yeah. So I think he's doing very well, and I think he's going to be a great extra to that show. I really think he's going to do good.
I agree.
He continues on saying he has done an incredible job directing the season. I'm also going to include Carol going all Jack Bauer on the POW Whisperer. That was a very classic look at the flowers. I want my casserole dish back, Carol.
Yeah. All right. I didn't say it earlier, but Megan, I had something to say about that bitch and heat comment, but I guess I'll wait until later. Deanna from Detroit says, Carol and Daryl working together to break the caught Whisperer, then Carol's beat down to the face. Nice.
Well, Glennis from Toronto says, Siddiq's slow realization that Dante was a Whisperer. So unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve from Oklahoma City has a couple. He says, Carol's interrogation techniques, being nice and then mean. Melissa played that so well. And then Rosita getting Siddiq to open up. I agree on both cases. All right, Mark, what awesome sauces do you have?
Well, I have to agree with everybody else with the seeing Carol interrogate the Whisperer in the cell. Gave me flashbacks of Daryl with Randall in Season 2, Episode 11, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Daryl stabs the wound with his knife on Randall to get information. Carol uses her finger this time on the Whisperer. And then Daryl puts his knife to the Whisperer's fingers and threatens to cut them off. Carol has become what Daryl was years ago in some respect, but they seem to be like a tag team at this point and getting information from people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the second part would be Gamma and Arid talking. They seem to have some sort of trust and understanding. Will we see Gamma become a Whisperer turncoat? Help out Alexandra, maybe? Or I just hope so. I'm hoping that she changes. But you know what happens when things change? They get killed. So.
Yeah.
So. That's not a prediction. That was just an observation.
Well, I had suggested that an earlier episode, but I didn't really make it a prediction. But I remember saying, you know, I actually accredited her for something that at the time, I don't think she. I thought that she was more pragmatic than she actually was. Maybe I saw some glimmer of it that I didn't, that wasn't actually there, but I think it actually is now. But I mean, she bought the whole, you know, song and dance. And when somebody, you know, who's a leader, it's like those evangelists, you know, the Jimmy Swaggarts of the day, you know, cheating on their wives and all that stuff when they're, you know, saying what, you know.
Yeah, I get you what you're saying. Or the
Yeah.
Manson of their days, too, because, you
Sure.
know, she wound up drinking the Kool-Aid, and then obviously during certain episodes, you could see the gears grinding of her thinking about certain situations of her
Yeah.
actions and what Alpha is doing. So, my last part would be finally seeing the Whisperer spy and finding out who it is. That
Mhm.
was awesome.
To that end, I did not see this death coming. That was brought up already, but truly this was a death when I least expected it. Now, I should preface that. Not so much when I least expected it. I have been expecting deaths, but this death was not one that I expected. And as soon as it happened, first of all, my reaction was, I even said it to you, Mark. What did I just see? Did I see what I thought I saw?
And that night I said, yes, you did, and he's gone.
Yeah, because I was just like, because the way that the episode ended, you know, it's kind of like, okay, now I have to see Talking Dead. You're gonna tell me this on Talking Dead, but the problem is I saw it Friday night, you know, on AMC Premiere.
You had to wait 3 nights.
Yeah, for those of you that don't have AMC Premiere, just so you know, Talking Dead is, well, most weeks anyway, it's live, but either way, they don't release it until it releases on AMC. And usually on AMC Premiere, it's not out until the following day. So, because it's live usually. But so I had to like wait until Sunday night. And this is what I literally did. I watched the episode with everybody else because I had to know, did this actually happen? Did this really happen? So for that, it was very, very effective. But
Yeah.
I still have issue. But Carol Swerve, I also give an awesome sauce to. Trying to kill him with kindness, something Negan said to Lydia earlier, but in a different way. But basically, you know, she took what Lydia told her that if she hoped that, you know, just giving him a taste of the life that they have would make him see that A, they're not bad, and B, yes, this is real, but you know, was too far gone. And you know, if he wasn't too far gone after the hemlock, he was far gone. So, all right. And I agreed with most of what everybody else brought up. So that's about all I have left to say, except for the weak and the what and the sad. But first, the weak.
You're worthless and weak.
Deanna from Detroit says, Dante is the spy nobody knew was there. I always got a bad vibe about that character. He was lurking around and saying creepy stuff. Yeah, and I wonder how much of that was intentional. Like he was doing that to keep Sadiq off guard, you know, because like and thinking about him now, like it makes a lot of ways. He was just so creepy and like saying weird stuff just to throw you off. Like to, you know, like you couldn't get a full like train of thought going because he just would say some stupid thing and you just be like, you know, you'd be like,
What?
yeah. So, and
All
then
right.
you'd have to say,
Are you kidding me?
Well, we continue on, and LT from NC says, I'm on the bandwagon with this one. So Lydia knows the POW Whisperer because he's a guardian herder, but she doesn't recognize Dante. I'm curious to see how they dig themselves out of that one. Tara doing the Baywatch dive. I'm thinking he meant Rosita.
yes, I think so.
Okay, so Rosita doing the Baywatch dive, LT. I liked it, but she was sick as hell in the first bit of the show, and she seemed pretty frisky to dive in after him like that. Which is true, but you think that was a last-ditch effort for somebody that has a little bit of life in them to do something really good to help out a friend or lover or loved one. That's my thought.
And, I mean, if you think about it, like going forward with this, most of the characters, like what was the central thing with these characters? They were getting better as long as they didn't take water from Dante. So
yeah,
that was the whole thing, I guess they didn't notice that like the water was brown or
no,
I'm just kidding. Obviously in those concentrations, it's very difficult to see that kind of thing, but
yeah, it's minute. And the fact that the way he bent up the red light lever, so just at a glance you wouldn't know.
So the funny thing is, though, up until this got shown up, I thought that they still had running water and all that. So is this how they're flushing their toilets and all this, or is the non-treated water what they're using to flush their toilets?
I would assume the non-treated water is what they're flushing with their toilets, so that way, honestly, it's waste.
Right.
So that way, the treated water is what they're actually replenishing themselves with. They're actually, drinking that water to hydrate.
Drinking, eating, whereas...
And bathing.
I always heard that they use the non-treated water to bathe, which to me would kind of... I don't think that would be a good idea, but whatever.
No, that wouldn't.
Little antibacterial soap.
If they could find it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Glenn's not there to find that.
Ken from Chicago, he has a few. He didn't give us a rating, but I don't think he liked this too much. He says, wow, at this rate, hashtag Walking Dead looks like it's on hashtag AMCW. Oh, I get it. The CW. That's what she meant, I think. He says, so many characters are all, I gotta do it alone, or it's all my fault, or I gotta make rash, impulsive decisions with huge consequences for others without telling jack squat to anyone. Bad wigs is a sign. So much weak sauce this week, especially a letdown after so much awesome sauce of last week. Character solves a big problem and tells no one. Character keeps going rogue despite repeated warnings. Why does no one protect doctors? Indeed. Therapy is underestimated. Communication too. Oh, yes, Ken. Supposedly on Fear the Walking Dead, there is a therapist. Okay, we haven't met this person yet, but there's supposed to be a therapist at one of the other settlements, so maybe we'll talk about that in season 6. I don't know. All right, Mark, what did you have for weak sauce?
I found it a little weak that we didn't have Carol bring Lydia to the Whisperer that was captured. Just to get that impact that Alpha was lying to them all along. It would have made for a better story even if the Whisperer died still.
Yeah, and to that, I had a weak sauce that fits right in with that. Or was it in my what sauce? Okay. I put it in my what sauce, but I'm going to say it now because it fits. Carol, not a very good parrot or guardian.
No.
I mean, other than the plot, there was really no reason for her to do that. And so I totally agree with you on that. It didn't make a lot of sense for her to do that. Like he could have, or should I say, Carol could have, and very well probably should have, and I think Lydia would have went ahead with it if what I'm trying to say is there would have been a way for Gamma to see Lydia and not put her through that. Like, I don't know. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
But my big weak sauce, well, I'll just say this. I had a bunch of weak sauces, and then I saw the cold open for next episode. And that's all I have to say. I'm not going to describe these things, but believe me, I'm just going to say this to you listeners. If I don't mention something specific, or don't say something about it when someone else mentions it, because some of these things have been mentioned already, some of them have been, it's because watch the cold open for next week.
It's on YouTube. You could find it.
Yeah.
You could go to AMC Premiere, and you could actually don't have to be subscribed to actually watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So do so.
Yeah, that's my point. There's a lot of things that you may have been wondering about this, like, how did Dante not get recognized and some of the other stuff. Yeah, that's why. Just watch the cold open. So anyway, but my main weak sauce, and the reason why I couldn't give it a 9.5, let's take a minute and look at the track record of doctors on this show. Dr. Edward Jenner blew himself up in season 1, episode 6, TS-19. There's a few seasons later, but Herschel Green, of course, the beloved Herschel, killed by the governor, season 4, episode 8, Too Far Gone. Yes, he was a vet, but, in that day and age, a vet is a doctor, he's just got a different specialty. I had to look up his name because I didn't remember it. And involved with this is the only alive doctor that I know of. Doctor,
is he still alive?
Well, he was at the time, but at Grady Hospital, Dr. Gavin Trevitt was killed by Beth / Dr. Edwards, season 5, episode 4, Slabtown. And Dr. Edwards is the only remaining doctor that I know of, at least in this show. He's probably not alive. It's been 8+ years. But anyway, Porch Dick, I had to look up his name. I couldn't remember it. Dr. Pete Anderson. Of course, he wasn't Anderson, but Pete was his name. Anyway, killed by Rick, season 5, episode 16, Conquer. Dr. Denise, we never got her last name, but of course, tragically killed by Dwight in season 6, episode 14, Twice as Far. Then we have, actually I have these out of order, but there's a reason for it. Dr. Emmett Carson was, of course, killed by Negan, thrown into the furnace. Season 7, episode 11, Hostiles and Calamities. Later, his brother, Dr. Harlan Carson, killed by Saviors, kind of a stray bullet, season 8, episode 11. So exactly one season later. Dead or Alive or. And then in between that, and actually, no, you know what? This is wrong. It was after this. Dr. Dana was killed. And I remember, of course, it was season 8 because that was an episode that we did together. So it was obviously season 8. Dr. Dana was killed by Tobin as a walker in season 80, episode 13, which I always called Do Not Send Us Any Ashtrays. Of course, do not send us astray. And then, and I'll call her Dr. Enid, of course, trained by Sadiq, killed by Alpha on one of the pikes. Season 9, episode 15, The Calm Before. And lastly, in this episode, Sadiq killed by Dante. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't be a doctor on The Walking Dead.
Or just be a nurse and be like June in Fear.
The other thing, too, this carries over to Fear the Walking Dead as well. There's been a lot of doctors on that show that have been killed.
Yeah, Grace is dying.
Grace is dying. What's his name? Hernando I think was his name. The guy in the Colonia. He was killed.
Yep.
I think the what was his name? I can't remember it. I can't remember the guy's name. In season 3, the
Indian?
Hmm?
The Indian?
No, not the Indian. What was his name? The motorcycle guy that like kind of took over things, and I think his doctor was killed on the dam.
Oh yeah, I forgot his name. Damn.
Yeah. And season 1, that Dr. Exner or whatever, she also died. So anyway, it's not just this show. Oh yeah, the guy in the hotel. He was a medical student or something.
Yeah, and he was helping
intern.
out. He was married to the bride.
Right.
And had to
Pablo.
take care of the
Pablo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that's dead. So anyway, don't be a doctor in the Walking Dead universe. You will die. So my weak sauce is really like they have to kill every single doctor. And I'll say it here. I want to throw a bone of contention to any of you that say that just makes Carl's death mean nothing. Well, no, it doesn't. Sadiq was actually in the Walking Dead universe alive and with our survivors for 8 years. We only saw him for 2 seasons, but 8 years of time in the universe happened. So yes, we saw Carl over 8 seasons, but Sadiq actually was with them a lot longer, and who knows how many lives he saved. So if you have that objection, just remember that it's not the time that we've seen, but the time that he was there. So,
yeah.
All right. What sauce?
What?
Well, Steve from Oklahoma City says, how did Rosita have the strength to jump in and pull Sadiq out of the water?
Similarly, well, no, it's actually not similar. But Sadiq, she says, Deanna from Detroit says, Sadiq is dead. No, say it ain't so. Characters are dropping like flies around this apocalypse. Actually, isn't he the first to die this season? So,
yes. Yeah.
But countless more are dropping like flies. Like we know, Cheryl, not much of a character there, but
no,
I think we just met her last week. But certainly Ezekiel's got cancer, and all this other thing. So,
well, we haven't seen him die yet or anything.
Right.
Well, this was like the first real character in the main show that we actually saw that is on. That was in quote unquote Rick's camp,
right?
At that point,
first since the Pike,
exactly,
yeah,
for the season,
yeah.
So, but we continue on, and Veronica from the internet says, "I knew something was up, but didn't expect this."
Brianna from Montana says, Lydia didn't recognize Dante. Or did, but didn't let the Alexandrians know? Note, watch the cold open. Then she says, no! Crying face. And wow, I definitely didn't see that coming. Definitely.
Yeah. And Glennis from Toronto says, Dante's a whisperer. What? What?
All right, our what sauce?
Well, not much of a what sauce, but yep, I knew that Dante was Whisperer about an episode ago. It was all in the way the character presents it, and the way he created the character. He was way too creepy, and this was from my feelings about the character within the comic. The character within the comic was not creepy at all. Plus, the close-up on the lips on Dante 2 episodes ago pointed out that pretty much. And spoilers, Dante in the comic book was a good person. He was a love interest for Maggie. Now, mind you, we don't have Maggie here. Now, these are spoilers, but honestly, we're far beyond the source material at this point. So the show is diverting from the comic majorly in a sense of different character forms. So I knew this was not right from the character. I had my suspicions for a while now. And yeah, Brian, I know you're mad.
Yeah, my response to Mark was, and way to bring it up on the podcast, Mark, before now. And I had rolling on eyes face, disgruntled face, exploding brain face, mad face, and zombie. Because you should have mentioned this before now, man. Or like we should say,
once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
Something that I brought up a long time ago, and we've been using that.
Exactly.
So, should we use my predictions for other things later or for now? Next episode?
No. We've got a whole bit of prediction section, so save them for later.
Will do.
All right. Well, the whole thing about, like I said, things that could have been brought up. Of course, it was already brought up. How does Lydia not know Dante? Watch next week.
Yes.
The one question that I have is this: did Sadiq tell anyone about the water? God, I hope so.
Nah.
I really do hope so. But and how come no one noticed that? It just I don't know. I guess it was done after Eugene was around, so Eugene would have noticed it, but he wasn't around. The actual death, Sadiq's choke looked more like a chokehold, like a full Nelson.
Yeah, I know.
It didn't look like something that would actually, kill him, knock him out, maybe, but. And of course he dies with his eyes open, which is creepy, but I guess that's fitting for creepy Dante. So, but that was the one thing I noticed. It's like, did he really die? That was part of the reason why I questioned his death. Like, I'm thinking, well, maybe he was just knocked out.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just playing dead, and next week he's gonna, pow pow pow, or grab that axe and choppy chop. But yeah. Anyway, all right. Our sad slash sauce. I don't think there's much sauce. It's all sad.
Aww. Well, Steve from Oklahoma City says Lydia leaving when she figures out that Carol used her and didn't really listen to what Lydia told her about the Whisperers.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, Steve. She did listen to Lydia, because I think the whole thing about bringing in the food, I don't think that would have been Carol's initial tact had Lydia not mentioned that. So I tend to disagree with you on that one. Brianna from Montana says simply, Sadiq's death, crying face, crying face. Baby Coco only has 2 dads now.
So
yes.
He's Greg Evigan and Paul Reiser.
Well, okay. So I guess that would mean Greg Evigan has to be Eugene because of the mullet.
Yeah,
and that would mean that Paul Reiser is Gabriel. So.
Well, Glennis from Toronto says Sadiq losing the struggle for his life with Dante and paying the ultimate price. Yeah.
Yep.
And a little bit of my own. That would be, I thought it was really sad to see that Sadiq confided within Rosita about his experience with the Whisperers during the fair. That was really hard to watch. His PTSD hit him hard, and he really couldn't cope, and he really needed to let it out. And his thought of, I'm assuming suicide because he was trying to drown himself and he wanted to drown, but at least he got to talk about the experience to Rosita before he actually did die. So, but it was really sad to see that somebody going through that, and it's really upsetting because PTSD is something that is within our world as it is in all different various formats. So I think they presented this very well within the show.
Did you intentionally spell it sad-eek? Because it's sad.
No.
Oh, well, it would have been appropriate. With that, something I wanted to mention earlier, I got the impression, although it seems so inevitable and like really the only way it could have ended up, but it seemed like Dante didn't want to kill him. You know, I don't know what the hell he was thinking was going to happen, but like he said something like, you know, I not you or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
he did state that, and it sounded to me like he started becoming acclimated with the group, and the fact that he was still on his mission, and he didn't want to do that to Sadiq because he really felt something as a friend to him.
Yeah,
And
but then why trigger him? I mean,
I think it was a subliminal thing that Dante did. It's just something that's natural to him. It's kind of like almost like a tick where he does something in nervousness and he doesn't realize it. And I think that's what happened. And then when Sadiq heard it, it was the one thing that he remembered and that he heard within his ear at that time when Dante was holding him back when he was in the Whisperer mask.
yeah.
So it's that one thing, and who knows what would have happened if that never happened and the Whisperers maybe attacked in some way, and maybe Dante would have continued his thing, but try not to hurt Dante or Sadiq. But, you know, the fact that, you know, he's been elusive, and I think he had a lot of respect for Sadiq and cared for him and liked him as a friend. And it was one of the things he didn't want to do.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it seems so inevitable. I mean, how else was that going to end?
Yeah,
And,
pan
you know,
out.
especially when he's, you know, we think anyway he's the one doing all this stuff, like the Hemlock. And you know, that's how messed up that Sadiq was, that he actually thought for a minute that he could have, you know,
It was the
Hemlock.
manipulation of like
Definitely.
him not knowing what he was going through. And a lot of it was a lot of the psychological distortion that Dante was doing.
Yeah.
But I don't think Dante at that point wanted him to suffer or to die. I think he just wanted to have him in prison or something.
Yeah.
You know, it in some twisted way, I think Dante deep down wanted to fit in some way, but not, you know, he's kind of torn between Whisperers and this group, because I think he got a taste of what the old world used to be, and then he was part of the Whisperers at certain points. So it's kind of like Gamma too. Think about how Gamma was reacting to Aaron and how their conversation went. So I know I'm kind of running off on a little different of a tangent, but you know, Gamma kind of gave information to Aaron, and they were reminiscing about life before the apocalypse, and how, you know, she mentions siblings and, you know, running around doing certain things, and you know, you know, as soon as Aaron tapped on that, she kind of retracted and ran away. But you know, then at the very end, we see the issue with Gamma and finding out Lydia. So there's a lot of device, you know, it's a lot of division within the Whisperers at this point. You know, when they see the truth of, hey, this is what's happening, or, you know, this is our life over here as whispers. This is this life over here with this, but these people seem to be somewhat genuine. And I think that's what Dante was actually starting to see. But I think by that point, it was a little bit too late. But that's just my thought.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I just have two things that have been mentioned. I'm surprised, since so many of the ladies like Daryl, they didn't mention shirtless Daryl, but I'm not specific to shirtless Daryl because I couldn't care less about that. But I had to feel sad for all the scars Daryl has, both on the back and the front. And I really noticed it on my last watch today, just how many scars that he's got. He's been through hell.
Yeah. Not only from his father, from previous to the apocalypse, because we've seen those scars before. There's some on his front chest too, as well.
Yeah.
And then there obviously, what was it, the X's that they were putting on him and Michonne?
Right.
And there's a couple of deep gouge ones that I've not seen before, other than the ones that his father was whipping him from, because those were kind of light back when we saw those when he was hallucinating. Actually, no, it was when Merle pulled his shirt and ripped his shirt off from his back that one time when he got them away. And he went off with Merle that time after he broke him away from the governor. Yeah, there's a lot, and Daryl's gone through a lot. So it's really sad to see. But I think of all people, I think he has the most scars physically than anybody.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention as far as sad is Gamma learning the truth about Lydia, and specifically sad as far as, the fact that she killed her sister, just over that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So with that, it's now time for our feedback section.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right. So our first bit of feedback is a voicemail, our only voicemail this week, from our good friend Steve.
Hello, this is Steve, and this is for Open Your Eyes, a Michael Cudlitz directed episode. So we got, again, those kind of overhead shots that, they're okay. I like them all right. I absolutely loved, I think Melissa McBride is just killing this season as Carol. I'm loving everything she's doing. Definitely we see Alpha as the cult leader. If you didn't think before that she was a cult leader, you definitely see that now. And I have no weak sauce for this episode. I loved everything about it. I did have one question besides what I put in my what sauce, was I didn't really understand the handle thing. That's why I marked it down a quarter of a point from being perfect, because I didn't get, was the handle, are we supposed to assume the handle was broken? Or did it just, that he just knocked the handle around because he figured out that the problem was with the water? So that part was a little unclear to me, because I thought we were supposed to assume that it was the dumping of the walker guts and stuff into the water that was making people sick. And so I didn't understand that part of it. And I don't think we're going to get any kind of explanation for it, because Dante kind of said that he was supposed to be paying attention to the water and he wasn't. But maybe he was. Maybe he was poisoning. Maybe when Alpha said the water last week, she wasn't meaning what Gamma was doing. She was meaning what Dante was doing from the inside. I don't know. But I really, really like this whole episode. We get those brief shots of Enid there again in Seek's flashbacks. So can't wait to hear what you guys thought. Talk to you later.
Well, as usual, thank you so much, Steve, for your great voicemail. All right. So I agree with you about Carol / Melissa McBride. I think she's killing it this season as well. And it's good to see Carol without regret. You know, she is just doing her rites of vengeance.
Yeah, she didn't bring a flower though.
Yeah. Yeah, no flowers. Yeah. Yeah, she could have. I wanted to talk about the handle thing and kind of detail it, because if you take at face value the fact that Dante is a spy for the Whisperers, he would have fed the information to Alpha that, you know, they had a water filtration system and that it was possible to sabotage it, which is what was done. And so what was done is, you know, like if you notice the sign, Eugene obviously put, it must have been him, you know, said something like, you know, this very complicated machinery.
Yeah, it was.
I'd have to look at the picture, but essentially what it was is you had this filtration system that, you know, the water would come in and there was potable water, you know, the treated water, and there was the non-potable or the unpotable or the untreated water. And so what there was, and I got a good look at this on my last watch. So what it was is, now how the handle was bent and didn't break, I question a little bit, because it didn't look like it was that strong a metal. But so it was one of those like handles where it was, you know, set up as a valve, and you would turn it so that one way it was potable water and, you know, water good to drink, and the other not good to drink. So, you know, the untreated stuff, the stuff you'd flush your toilet with. So what he did is the handle was such a way that you could bend it back and it would look like it was set up for potable water, but it was the untreated water. So that's what he did. And you know, it's like one of those things. It wasn't, he didn't do all of them. All he had to do was one, because one was enough to get some people sick. And if you went to that particular, you know, spout, you would get sick. But if you didn't go to that spout, you wouldn't get sick. So that's what was done. But, you know, you have to, you know, wonder, why was it so easy to do that? But essentially that's what was done. So the thing was bent backwards so that it, you know, was bent 180 degrees, so that instead of it showing that it was untreated water, it was showing as treated. But once Sadiq was able to look at it close enough, he noticed that it had been bent back. So he bent it back into shape. And that's where I'm like wondering, well, how did it not break when he tried to bend it back? But anyway, he bent it back and sure enough discovered that it was in its wrong spot. So that's what was going on there. So obviously, we'll be finding out that, you know, he must have been passing stuff back to Alpha over the months. And that also explains with the fact that Dante knew she would have known that they crossed the border 3 times, because she would have found that out from Dante.
Yep.
So
the little
all of
notes,
that makes sense
maybe.
now.
Yeah.
Huh?
He could have been passing information for all we know.
Well, I would have to assume that he has been.
Yeah.
Because he's a spy. That's what spies do. So, anyway, watch next week.
Watch the preview.
Watch the preview. You will learn very much. And I'll talk about that at the end. So,
okay.
All right. So, that's it for Steve's feedback. So let's move on. LT from NC, Mark.
Yeah, well, LT says, so on to my feedback. Aaron and Gamma. The way Aaron is trying to be Mr. Nice Guy to her, and yet how he's not giving her any information. And there's Gamma trying to prod him for information, and you get the sense that she is not as resolute a follower as she wants to be. Then Carol shows up with Lydia, and of course, Lydia runs off, and Gamma runs off. 3 threads there in Alpha Land. Quote-unquote, Negan, Lydia, and Gamma. That I wonder what will get resolved or left hanging for the break. Which is going to be interesting. I don't think they'll leave us hanging. I think we'll find something towards the end of next episode before, but they will leave us hanging in some way. Definitely for the mid-season finale. He continues on saying the Siddiq arc. Man, oh man, I wondered where all this would go. And damned if it didn't go this way. I knew I didn't like Dante.
Impossible.
But it was possible because he was.
Yes. In fact, too possible.
Yeah. Continues on saying the cold open sequence where we kept seeing the water and Siddiq trying to figure out what the sickness was. Then the scene in the chair. I jumped. I'll cop to it. Winky smiley face. So then the round with the hemlock in the med kit, and I was thinking, man, is Siddiq that messed up? And obviously he thought so. All the scenes, where he was remembering more and more, and then jumps into the pond. More water images.
Sorry, LT, I don't have a water sound effect.
Blub, 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 blub. The scene at the water tap at least answered my question about filtration. They do have a filter, but Dante, we assume, bypassed the filter and let the raw water get distributed. This may explain how folks didn't get sick, since it would only affect that particular tap. Very clever.
Indeed. That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The final hook for me was when Siddiq figured it out. Maybe this explains that close-up on Dante's mouth a while back we all wondered about, which had me thinking right away.
It had me thinking, what's that from Deliverance or something? You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah, exactly. That's as Southern as it could be and as strange movie as it was.
Yeah, not far from the truth either.
Yeah. Continues on saying that moment when he put it all together and made it all make sense. The mysterious things that happened. That maybe Siddiq wasn't quite as out of it as we thought, since now we know he had help with all the mistakes and omissions. I had to rewatch part of it to get the start of the actual fight, and all that Dante said while he was choking him out. Now the issue will be, is Dante redeemable? And I don't think so.
No.
Nope.
No, because like I say, I mean, I can't see him being redeemable.
Nope, and I have a theory about what might happen to him. The last part he has would be so many loose threads, so many balls in the air, again avoiding beating our favorite dead horse, but this season has been way above some of our previous watches this year, and this is almost back to the level of The Walking Dead we saw before the Savior's arc. Which is, to some degree, yeah, because we've had, I think in Season 1 we had a couple of major ones, come definitely Season 2, I would say definitely come Terminus, and all the roads that went through that, and then a little bit within during the Saviors, and all that went in between that as well. He says, I'm excited for this week's podcast, and it'll be that same old coin toss of what will be the cliffhangers for the break and what will get resolution for.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I think this was my highest rated of the half season.
I believe so.
I don't think I gave anything a 9.5. I want to say I gave the season opener 9.4.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly I loved episode 3, except for that whole amphetamine / whatever it was that Carol was taking 10 years later. That I had a problem with, but the rest of it, I thought was really good. So yeah, I don't know for sure if this is my highest rated, but if it's not, it's very close to it. So
yeah, it's pretty much up there.
Yeah, really, my only major thing was that they killed another doctor, and that kind of pisses me off, as you can tell. I'm not, if Sadiq had been anything else, I wouldn't have, had pause, but it's like, in early seasons of The Walking Dead, there was a whole thing about, killing the black male character, and, whether or not that was like a real thing or it just, worked out that way. But certainly now, I don't think there can be a denial. If you are a doctor, your time is up eventually.
Yeah, definitely. That is true.
It's too coincidental to be anything else.
Makes me fear for June because she's as close to a doctor on fear that they're all going to get because Gracie's got her time waiting. And
well, we do have that other doctor from the, what's the name of that? Jeannie's compounds there. She had a doctor.
Yeah, but she might kill him because she's crazy. She's Looney Tunes. You know that.
Calamity Jane.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Ken. So all I have to say, 67 episodes of that. Just go and listen to a few and you'll know what we're talking about. Anyway, okay, for the rest of you. Deanna from Detroit. She says, so we get the answer to the tainted water. So apparently Sadiq was giving out contaminated water because he failed to turn the switch up. No, I don't think that's what's happened. What I think happened was actually that this one tap had been tampered with. So anyone who used it was getting tainted water. That's what happened. Anyway, wow. His PTSD was affecting him on all levels, and then the big reveal that Dante was the Whisperer who held his eyes open, making him watch the killings of his friends, didn't see that coming. And something I should have mentioned earlier. So he had this PTSD that he just sat there and watched it. Well, he was forced to watch it. And we even see in this episode, and I think maybe the episode before, like little hints that he wasn't it wasn't that he was just, stuck watching it or watching it, didn't do anything. He was forced to watch it. Alpha made him watch it. So, and of course, Dante's the instrument of getting him to be forced to watch it. But now, as I put the clues together, Sadiq appeared agitated anytime Dante was around him too long. His breathing would be off, sweating, and struggling to focus. Then the ultimate betrayal, Dante is the spy for the Whisperers and kills Sadiq right at the moment the pieces fell into place. Then the suppressed memories came to the surface. I was wondering where this Dante dude had come from. They they never showed anybody finding him. So how did he get in? And where did he come from? Next week. The season started and there was no explanation. Next week. Hi, this is Dante, our new doctor? What? Or
What?
And all along, he was a spy for the Whisperers, and now we know how they knew about our people. Crossing the borders. Exactly. Too bad nobody thought to ask him any of his backstory or the 3 questions from when Rick was in charge. Well, they could have asked him those questions, but he probably would have lied. So,
well, there's something that actually just came into my mind when she talks about Dante coming in. Wasn't there like a scene last season where we saw an ominous figure walking in the dark coming towards Alexandria and we did not know? I'm trying to remember a few things that is in my scattered visual memory. I remember there was somebody. I'm forgetting.
I think you might be right, but I don't remember any specifics.
I just remember the scene where you saw a figure walking towards Alexandria in a sense where we did not know, and it was one of those questionable scenes. And it was in the night, and you saw it from a distance, and it was dark. That's all we saw.
Mm-hmm. Why is Lydia so mad at Carol? All she was going to do was show the Whisperers that Alpha had lied about her daughter. In my Alpha Southern drawl voice, oh, her daughter. I missed that. Why does that make Lydia feel she was using her when it's the truth? And exposing her mother as a liar would help them get the upper hand on the Whisperers. Instead, Lydia has a meltdown and storms off into the creepy forest in the middle of the night. What the hell? These characters love going off into the woods all alone at night. Meanwhile, Aaron's out here playing nice with Gamma, talking about bread, his daughter, his brother. Then, well, of course, he wouldn't say that. Then she turns bad on him, puts a knife to his throat to get info. What was Aaron doing? What was his plan? To become BFFs with Gamma? Guessing he was thinking she would eventually tell him what the Whisperers are up to. Yeah, I tend to think that that's true. I think that was the intention there. Why is it that nobody ever discusses the plans as a group to decide what the best approach would be together as opposed to everybody going off doing their own thing? Yeah. They do it, but they do it off camera. I'm just saying, when Rick was around, they had plans and collaboration with everyone on the same page. You got Aaron off doing who knows what with Gamma. Carol and Daryl got their own plan, and Negan has his own plan, and probably Lydia is next to have her own plan. I hadn't thought about the Lydia part, but the rest of it, you're probably right. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like everybody's just doing their own thing, and nobody's there's no coordinated effort. You know, this is very different than, say, the way things were in season 8. You know, where they had a whole plan, or like season 6 when they were trying to draw those walkers away and all that. Like, there was a plan. So there's no plans. This is like, this, like you say, Dieta, I think you nailed it right on the head there. Everybody's just doing their own thing, but nobody's working together.
They're all acting on emotion at this point.
But the one thing I will mention, I should have mentioned it before, Aaron, like, we know now from this episode that Aaron has definitely been, going back and forth to Alexandria. So, like, that was my issue last week. Like, why is Aaron not going back and telling them, what Alpha did? Like, them tainting the water, you would think, hey, wouldn't you need to know that? Well, maybe he did tell them that, and they didn't think that thered be a problem or whatever. But, like, this is one of those things that's like, somebody should have been watching this. If they knew, I'm talking myself into giving another deduction here. If they knew that Alpha was tainting the waters, wouldn't you think that they would have spent extra time, like, worried about being a spy, making sure that the filtration was going through properly, because if it didn't, they know enough to know that it would make people sick. I mean, look at, Gabriel's eye. So, yeah, it's, anyway, I kind of talked myself out of that point, but it's true. Like they should have had, people safeguarding the taps just to make sure that nothing was being tampered with. Because otherwise, something like this could happen.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Dieta.
Well, Glennis from Toronto says, so now we know why Alpha's info on the survivors movements was so on point. That is true.
Yes, we do. Definitely.
So Dante killed/poisoned the Whisperer prisoner and blamed Sadiq for that. So Sadiq didn't make any mistakes with the herbs. I wonder if Dante also killed that woman that was sick to hurry her death on.
Next week.
Check out. Hopefully Dante won't realize that Sadiq has switched the water back to the quote-unquote good water, so stopping further spread of the water sickness.
By the way, AMC, you need to give us a referral program. I mean, it is. I have to say, it is really nice. Even if I wasn't podcasting on the show, it is really nice to be able to have the option to, especially watch the show on the weekend and not have to stay up Sunday night. And, if I can't, just having the whole weekend to be able to watch it. It's really nice. That alone makes it worthwhile to me.
Oh, definitely. It made my life so much happier.
Yeah. Cause I mean, the one thing that I'll say is before they had AMC Premiere, it was always a rush to have to get in enough watches to be able to write our own notes, to collect all the feedback, to be prepared. And with being able to see it, Friday or Saturday, it just makes it that much more easy.
And commercial free too. So that way you could actually go through it. I was able to change out the video in certain ways after I was able to get it on my DVR and just transfer it, so that way I could actually just look at with it without any commercials. Now it's such a treat just to have that. And on top of that, sometimes they have extended episodes too.
Yes.
And
that's a plus. I used to buy the episodes. Like I used to buy them on Google Play. And I did that like the first 4 seasons that we were podcasting on it. So 5, 6, 7, and 8, I used to buy all the episodes on Google Play. For season 9, when AMC Premiere came on, I stopped that. And now I just do everything with AMC Premiere. And, and when the show's not on, I stop it. And when the show's back on, I started it. So
yeah,
it's worth it. It's really worth it to me. And it's a lot cheaper than buying all the episodes outright. I don't know if it is, but certainly from a convenience standpoint, it's a lot nicer, because especially with it being available, and the first episode was available a week early,
Yep.
And you guys were the recipients of an extra episode that week. So anyway,
she continues on saying, Carol is really crafty, both when the Whisperer was still alive with her trick-or-treats interrogation tactics, and then with Lydia giving her weapons back. Giving Lydia the impression that Carol trusts her, but Carol knows full well Lydia's reaction to be used as a pawn with Gamma would cause Lydia to go off on her own, and that's why she gave Lydia her weapon back. And Carol doesn't really care what happens to Lydia, since Lydia is indirectly the cause of Henry's death.
Think that I have to go through this whole episode. It's kind of shocking, actually, that I went through this whole episode and I didn't play.
There's a conspiracy out there. You hear what I'm saying? There's a conspiracy. A C-O-N conspiracy.
Did you just notice that he makes that same kind of noise that Dante makes?
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but reminiscent.
Almost.
Yeah. All right. Our last bit of feedback, and it came in as we were recording, but I saw it come in, so I added it, was from Renee from the internet. Sorry, Renee, I don't know where you're from, so I have to say from the internet. Makes me think of Tron for some reason. Anyway, I'm sorry, but it's just not the same without Rick Grimes. Well, Renee, I think you know where I stand on that. I miss him too. I'm trying to stay excited because I love The Walking Dead, but I'm missing Rick Grimes like crazy. I need the movies to hurry up and come out. Sunday nights are not the same. Crying face, crying face, crying face, crying face, crying face. I love Rick Grimes. Heart, heart, and heart. Well, I agree. And, I said this actually on the first episode of the Star Trek Picard cast, that the two characters that I have, had an attachment to above all others are Rick Grimes and Jean-Luc Picard. So, I've missed him terribly. And, I had a kind of a crisis, from like episode 6 up until the end last season, where I was like, I don't know if I want to keep going with this, but, I'm glad I stayed with it because I'm definitely in now, but I want to hear what the heck's going on with this movie. Like I was expecting to hear more about it, but I don't think they've shot it yet. I think, it's probably not going to be out next year.
Nah, they're taking their time with it seems. And, and I've heard speculations that from overseas saying that Walking Dead might end March of 2022, but that's just rumorville. But
yeah,
they're basing that, I think, mostly on the source material. And, you have to realize that AMC has invested so much into this, because if they're going to do this new show Monument, and then on top of that, they have Fear the Walking Dead. So they're already investing a lot into it. So my feeling is I don't like believing things till I see them. And I'm hoping that if they do start this spring, at least.
Yeah, and it's worth saying Monument is not the title of the show. We don't know what the title of the show, but what we do know is that Monument was like the,
working title.
Yeah. Much like for Fear the Walking Dead, the working title was Cobalt. So,
yeah.
And Cobalt played into the first season. But anyway, yeah. But supposedly the settlement that they're in is called Monument. That, at least that's what we've heard.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I want to hear more. I don't know if it's a great idea for them to take so much time. I mean, with the ratings, dipping by the time they finally have a movie, people may not care so much anymore.
Yeah, you got to show Andrew Lincoln the money so he could get out there sooner.
I don't think that's the problem. I think movies take longer than TV shows. I mean,
yeah,
it's just a different budget. It's a different way to shoot. It's obviously, more expensive. I was going to say more expensive film, but these days most of the stuff's not filmed on film anymore. It's digital. But it's usually, it just takes more time. Like the resolution is more high resolution. So like rendering, animation and stuff like that, it takes longer to do. So it's all those things, but it's just a longer, form. And shooting scripts, like, they'll shoot, 60 pages of script over 8 days, where, for a movie, they might shoot, 100 pages or, 200 page. I don't know how big a movie script is, but let's say, 150 page script, and it might be 10 weeks to shoot that, or even longer. So, some movies shoot for like a whole year or something. So it just takes longer, but
Yeah.
all right. So that's it for our feedback section. So now it's just for our own notes, and these are not predictions. We'll cover the predictions at the very end. So lot to say about this episode for sure.
Oh, definitely.
All right, Mark.
Well, this is an interesting one. The look on Daryl's face when Dog breathes on him. Daryl, you don't smell so good either, so why would you wince?
Yeah.
He probably has doggy breath too. Well, I did predict that Dante killing Sadiq in another post. Yes, Brian, I know I was bad, and we spoke about this before.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, I knew that you predicted it because I remember reading it, on in another Facebook group.
Yeah,
but then I realized as soon as I said that, I'm like, you never said that on the podcast.
Yeah, I never did. And it's something that I kept to myself, and I was like, what did I just say?
Well, I mean, I did a similar thing. Like, it wasn't, I don't think, as a big of a plot point, but like I forgot to mention the whole thing about the satellite and what I thought Eugene was going to do with the satellite parts. I was right. I mean, I guessed it, but I totally forgot to say it.
Yeah.
That first episode, but it still was a good thing to say by the third episode. So I said it, but
yeah, well,
I mean, it happens. I do that all the time, but I was just giving you a hard time because I could.
Yeah, I know, but there are way too many giveaways, in my opinion, to Sadiq's demise and Dante's being a whisperer. Dante's smile in the close-up was a clue in itself, but you actually brought that up in a previous podcast, saying, why would they close up on his lips like that?
Yeah.
And then
it was really creepy. I mean, but it's one of those things that's like, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
And hindsight was definitely a player in this episode, because once you start going back and thinking about all the things that we've seen, it's like, oh,
yep,
okay,
yeah. It's just like with the 11 doves, or in my thought, birds in the mobile that was over Coco's crib. Now, mind you, there was 10 pikes.
Yeah.
And there was 11 doves.
Oh man.
And I had to count it, and I'm like, let me count. And I had counted it, and I was like, okay, something's weird about that. And since the PTSD was put into play, I thought right away that he was a goner, since he was a doctor, and Dante came out of the blue as a doctor, and just kind of like with Denise and Porch Dick, he winds up dying, and then Denise winds up having to take over the role. And then on top of that, Dante's creepiness, those were like subtle giveaways in my opinion, Like,
I wonder if Alpha knew that Sadiq was a doctor, like, because that's where I had wondered if he was following orders and he, killed him when he did. But I mean, I think he had to because he was exposed. But then again, all the, it's like you said, like that whole like clicking had to have been a just an innate response, like out of habit or whatever, unconscious thing he did, because otherwise it's like, why tip him off?
Yeah,
why
he
do
wouldn't
that?
have done it purposely. I think it was like some sort of nervous tick or something that he just did out of excitement, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, a couple little things to mention. First, and this probably should have been in my sad sauce now looking at it, but the comment about like when Carol brings some kind of salve, I think it was, like a, Tiger Balm or, Absorbine Junior, whatever, gives some kind of ointment for Lydia. And she says, it's for your bruises. And Lydia's response was, I've had worse. And Carol says, so have I. I just couldn't help but be sad hearing that, because of course, they're both referring to their abuse that they've both suffered,
Yeah.
So, and I had to wonder about like Alpha versus Carol. Both of them are twisting, people to their own will. Carol for good, Carol, her own kind of like plan, but, certainly not like, Jim Jonesing it like Alpha is. But, I mean, it's kind of funny how they're both doing that. And it was clear, I guess, in this episode, especially when I saw the bread, that we've finally had an explanation about Aaron, because that bugged the hell out of me before, because it was clear that they had some kind of filtering, but like I said earlier, they should have been paying closer attention. And it just took that one tap being messed with to make the people sick. Like, it's not, because if they had made everyone sick all at once, that would have been more of a tie, that would have been more of a warning. Like, it was kind of gradual, like, a couple people every day, I think. And to the point where, so many people were sick, speaking of the abuse, and I don't mean to make light of this, but the point about that Whisperer, tells Carol that he would take her like a bitch in heat. There was something that Megan mentioned earlier as well. I would have thought that guy, if the world had kept going, he probably would have been somebody that been implicated in the Me Too movement.
Or if not stoned.
Well, yeah.
Or if not, somebody could have been like, hey, well, you're into bestiality and that's against laws.
Okay, well, I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was just thinking about it how, this was a guy that the way he said that made me think he was doing some abusive things in his past.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. That's kind of what I mean. Dante's pretty big for a Whisperer. I mentioned this before, that I thought that, well, then again, I guess Beta's big for a Whisperer. So they must be eating better than I originally thought. But, well, again, we're going to see more next week. That might explain some of it, but that doesn't explain all of it. But I wanted to bring up one final point. It's something that I've seen some people say, and I've heard people say on podcasts as well, about Carl died for nothing. I disagree. Think about it for a minute. This is season 10. Okay. The first 8 seasons of the show happened over the course of like 2 years. Dante, who's only been in the show for 2 seasons, 8 years have passed. And we got that time frame from last week when Negan said, that he had been with them for, been in prison for 8 years there. So Sadiq, I think I might have said Dante, but Sadiq had been there for 8 years. So, he trained Enid, and he had saved a lot of people over the years. He'd even saved Negan's life, so he had saved a lot of people. And I totally disagree that Carl died for nothing. He did not die for nothing. It's tragic, and I don't like the fact that they killed another doctor.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Sadiq died, and Carl, yes, Sadiq died, but Carl didn't die for nothing. He died to save this guy, and he lived up to everything that Carl's legacy had, and he saved a lot of people. It's unfortunate that he died, but was killed in this way. But I just disagree with anyone that makes that. Like, I get it. We watched Carl for 8 seasons, and I was in total shock when it happened. I mean, that was right at the time that you started on the show.
Yeah.
And it was tragic, but Carl didn't die for nothing.
I think a lot of people are looking at it in the sense of the actual show itself. For 8 seasons, we saw Carl, and then we forget the time jump, and we forget that.
That's my point.
Yeah, that Sadiq has been there since the time of Carl's death, and it's been 8 years. So, he's proven himself much an asset to Alexandria and all the communities in a sense of being a doctor.
Exactly.
And, just to disregard, we didn't see anything in between physically on the show, but Sadiq made himself very important in all the communities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where I think people are saying that they're forgetting about the time jump. It's clear, very clear. I mean, think about it. If you take the time from the time frame that's actually happened inside the universe of The Walking Dead, Sadiq was around for 80% of that time, even though on the screen we only had him for 20% of that time. Yeah. It's flipped. But anyway, that's rough. I didn't calculate it, but roughly that's what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of harsh.
It is. And it's also ironic that who was on Talking Dead this week? I think they planned that. Chandler Riggs was on Talking Dead this week with Avinash Sadiq. So, all right. So let's move on to news, ratings, and info.
There's a couple weird stories on the news.
I don't really have any info for this episode other than stuff we already talked about. But I do have ratings, and I can say, thankfully, that ratings are... That's right. They're up this week. Season 10, Episode 7 of The Walking Dead, Open Your Eyes, got a 1.12 in the 18 to 49 demographic with 3.311 million viewers. That's up from last week's. It's not that much, but it's higher. 1.05 in the 18 to 49 and 3.212 million viewers last week. So, up about 100,000 and 7/100ths of a point. It's still, it's still a good increase. Talking Dead was also up. It got a 0.41 in the 18 to 49 with 1.380 million viewers. That's up from 0.38 and 1.23 million. And Clint from our Facebook group, he posted something that I actually watch, but I don't watch it close enough. And it was actually something I think LT from NC had suggested. Parrot Analytics. Now they measure something what they call demand expressions, and it's basically people looking for a certain show or talking about a certain show on the internet. Could be in social media or other things. I'm not sure how they calculate it, but they're, I think, basically trying to figure out who's talking about what. And this particular week, this past week, The Walking Dead generated over 60 million demand expressions in the U.S., ranking 6th overall in all TV shows. And something that Clint mentioned, that it's 21 million more than the demand for The Mandalorian, which, we've talked about. And Mark knows this, and I seem like I'm the only person in that I know of that can say this. I'm not really liking the show all that much. Personally, I don't know. I was expecting a lot more, and it has the one thing that really chaps my ass. The episodes are too short. I don't like especially last week's episode. I'm just starting to get into it, and it's over, Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just, and I don't like the fact that we don't get to see his face. That's my other thing.
Actually, that's the mystique that I like about it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know. And it's funny. I even mentioned this, that flies right against, say, Darth Vader. I mean, we don't see Darth Vader's face, but, well, eventually we did, but still, Darth Vader isn't the hero of the story. He's the villain. So, but this guy's supposed to be the hero. Maybe he's an anti-hero. I don't know.
I think he's an anti-hero. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to keep watching, but I'm having the same kind of reaction to The Mandalorian that I had from the first season of Game of Thrones. I had all these people telling me how great it was and all this stuff, and I'm like, no, not feeling it. And eventually, after 6 seasons, I'm like, okay, I must have been wrong. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to power through that first season that I didn't really care for all that much. Get through to season 2, and maybe things will get better. And it did in this case. So, it's only 2 episodes in of an 8-episode season. I hope that the episodes get longer.
Oh, same here. That was something that I actually brought up at work to a bunch of friends, and they were saying that the first episode should have technically been like an hour and change, and then the other remaining could have been 45 minutes each.
I think that the first episode was probably the first 2 episodes originally. I think they decided to split it up, because if you think about it that way, I think the first one was maybe 39 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And the second was 32. That would have been, an hour 11. And that would have been exactly, like around the time of a 90-minute with commercials kind of episode.
Yeah.
So like that would have been, and that's similar to like the longer form episodes on Star Trek Discovery, and for that matter, Game of Thrones too. Like that would have made sense if the first 2 episodes had been one actual episode.
Yeah.
So I'll see how it is for the rest of the season. I'm hoping it gets better. I think that this is why I say this. It's like I'm the only one that thinks this way, so I don't trust it. It's like I was saying, why am I the only one that feels this way? And it's not because I'm such a Star Trek lover. Okay, I love Star Wars too. That's not the reason.
It's the story based and how everything is coming and unfolding. Yeah.
I think I was expecting more than I'm actually getting, and I'm not so into Star Wars universe that just like seeing, oh, like look at that cantina, isn't that like from the first New Hope, or oh, look at that, oh, he looks like Boba Fett, it's like. And I have to say, Boba Fett, where did Boba Fett come from? The Star Wars holiday special. The first thing that I got exposed to with Star Wars was that damn holiday special. So, maybe I have have something against. I even said this when I saw the Empire Strikes Back. I couldn't figure out why Art Carney wasn't in it. And that doesn't deserve a sound effect because it's the absolute truth.
Yeah, that was the first impression. It's like Art Carney? B. Arthur?
Yeah. I thought, where's Art Carney and B. Arthur? They're not in this. And I swear to you, listeners, that's the truth, man. I really did expect them to be in it. And I was really shocked that they weren't. I'm glad that they weren't singing in The Empire Strikes Back. And I loved The Empire Strikes Back. That was the first movie that I saw. I saw, not the first movie, but the first movie that I saw. And then I saw a year later when it came back in the theaters, then I saw A New Hope, which they weren't calling A New Hope back then. They were calling it Star Wars. So
yeah,
it's only later that they started calling it A New Hope. But anyway, I digress. And for that matter,
What is this bizarre segue that's happening right now? Can we maybe stay on point?
That's not true. That's impossible.
Luke Skywalker, that seemed appropriate.
Yeah, that
did. All right. That's that. We don't really have any news. I know that there were some interviews that were done with Angela Kang, talking about how this was all planned out and everything, and I'll post those in the Facebook group. And I know that there were some good things that were on Talking Dead. I'm pretty sure there was a Talking Dead, but I didn't get a chance to watch that yet. So I was kind of busy with work today. So, all right. Anyway, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Well, we're not even going to be able to wrap it up because we got predictions. So, but let's get to our interact and support and all of that stuff and go forward. So, Mark.
Sure. We want to encourage everybody to follow us on Twitter, and you could find us at Walking Dead GSM. And to submit your theories and feedback, most people post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group, which would be facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadGSM. We'd like to also encourage you to use our new email address, which would be walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. Our new feedback form is at talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. And if you want, you could also give us a call and leave a message, just like Steve Brown does. You could call us at 216-232-6146. Again, that would be 216-232-6146. Deadline for next episode is set for our regular day and time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, Tuesday, November 26th. And you could also leave feedback at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia.
Leave us a review and recommend us there.
Definitely.
Yes. And, it occurs to me that this is the first time that I can remember that the final episode this half season is before Thanksgiving. Usually it's like either the Sunday after Thanksgiving or I think one or two times it was into December. But this is the first time that I can remember that it's actually before Thanksgiving. So the best way you can support us is our new Patreon. That's at patreon.com/Walking Dead Talk Through. We'd like to thank our Patreon supporters, Steve Brown, Alex Baelish. Hey, Alex, we haven't heard from you in a few weeks. What's going on, man?
Yeah.
And Lawrence Todd. And remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them. And another way you could support the podcast and support other Walking Dead fans is to tell friends about our podcast, because word of mouth is one of the best ways to get us new listeners. It's been a really long time. I was looking at it. I think it was August of 2018 that we got our last review in Apple Podcasts. So other than the one review we got for Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through, which is a separate feed that you can subscribe to. But subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts. If you go to talkthroughmedia.com and look at one of our episode posts, you'll see that there are links to subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts. And if you have Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a rating or review. And we continue to work on the website. Our issues with Facebook have not resolved. Everything I read said it was 30 days. Well, it's past 30 days now, and it hasn't been resolved. So over the break, we may take steps to get a new domain, and I have to try to do it so everything on the existing domain, talkthroughmedia.com, still works. But get a new domain. So anyway, we'll address it the best way we can. And we will continue to work on that. But our focus actually over the break is to make more content. And it'll mostly be at least on our and Star Trek related. And specifically, we've mentioned the Star Trek Picard cast is out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Overcast, pretty much anything. There was an issue with Player.fm. I'm hoping to try to resolve that in the next couple of days. I've been talking with them, trying to figure out why this isn't available. But Stitcher, Spotify, it's all on. I mentioned Spotify already, but Stitcher, TuneIn, it's pretty much available everywhere. And we will be releasing new episodes of the Star Trek Discovery podcast. We have a new short trek to go through, and we still owe for the second short trek. So we released one on the first short trek, so we've got two more to go. So I think Ruthie and I are going to record those in the next couple of days. And so we'll have some new content out for that. But our Patreon for those podcasts, and we've got some plans in the next few weeks as well to do some Patreon episodes. That's at patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. And LT, got your message, by the way, and we'll talk to you soon about the custom content that you've deserved for being such a loyal Patreon subscriber. So he's at a level that he can actually tell us what kind of podcasts, or give us, I should say tell us. He says, hey, I want you to do an episode on one of these things. So we're going to pick one and we'll do that. So
dedicated to him.
Yes, we're gonna do a dedicated episode to you, LT. Anyway, Mark, what's going on with Panels Pixels right now?
Well, we're currently in Watchmen mode, and we just finished up. It's actually out there now, which would be our coverage of episode 4. If you don't like my story, write your own. So that's out there for you to listen to on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, and iTunes. So Steve and I have been working on that. You could actually hear it on YouTube as well. And we should also mention that we do have YouTube for us with the Walking Dead Talk Through and our content.
Ah, yes.
So you could hear, so you could hear all of us on YouTube at this point as we're working on to our next episode, which will be coming out. The new episode comes out on Sundays. and it will be episode 5, Little Fear of Lightning, and Steve and I will be covering that. So if you guys feel that you want to throw in some feedback based upon that episode, you're definitely welcome to do so. You could easily check us out on the Next Level Radio Podcast Network. And you could actually go just to facebook.com/panelstopixels, or you could go to panelstopixelspodcast.com and just leave some feedback if you want. There's actually a phone number there as well if you want to reach out to us as well.
I should mention too that like I said, the next couple episodes for within Star Trek are going to be on the Discovery feed for the short treks. But the Picard content going forward is going to be on its own podcast feed. So make sure if you haven't subscribed yet to subscribe. We'll mention this on the Discovery podcasts, the next couple that come out. But all right. So next episode is season 10, episode 8, the mid-season finale. It's titled The World Before, written by a new co-executive producer this season, Julia Ruckman, and directed by, and I've looked him up already, a director of some note, John Dahl. He's directed a lot of TV, but also several blockbuster movies. So the description is as follows. A fight causes tension in Oceanside while the Alexandrians set out on a high-stakes mission. And to that, we have predictions.
What?
All right, I'll go for the first one here. Megan from Pennsylvania says, Rosita will kill Dante.
Well, Glennis from Toronto says, predictions for The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 8. It's a good tactic that the audience is armed with the info that Dante is a whisperer. It'll now add tension with whoever Dante interacts with going forward. Watch out. She continues on saying, Dante, I hope, will be discovered and revealed as a whisperer and often in this episode. Unless they drag that storyline out, it needs to be Rosita to confront him. Yeah. Sadiq needs to be killed as he has turned. Wonder if he'll pitch up the precise time, as in the trailer, Dante was speaking to Rosita at the door, with Sadiq somewhere behind him on the floor. When she was asking on the whereabouts of Sadiq, so Rosita is also in great danger from Dante.
Yes. What Glennis is talking about is there was a really chilling scene that was shown on Talking Dead, a sneak peek of next week's episode, and it was exactly as she described.
Yeah, the
Very
eyes
chilling.
opening up in the background.
Yeah.
As he's on the floor.
Yep.
She says, Dante will just say Sadiq took his own life out of grief and the PTSD suffered. Sadiq couldn't live with himself any longer. There's a showdown between Alpha and Gamma, and expect Lydia to pitch up at some point too, to make for a very awkward moment for Alpha. Daughter-elect may have fight in front of Alpha. I don't know about that one.
I guess she means Gamma and Lydia.
Yeah. Negan will protect Alpha from Beta. So getting deeper into Alpha's good books once the Lydia is alive news is out in the open. Carol, maybe Aaron in tow, follows Gamma back to the Whisperer's lair, which is a possibility. The survivors make their battle plan against the Whisperers. Enter Michonne and Judith stage right back from Oceanside.
Yeah, about time. We haven't seen her since episode 4.
Yeah.
And I hope this doesn't mean that this is her last episode.
No, she's got at least a good 2 or 3 more, I think.
Well, that could mean like this episode and the season premiere and,
One after
anyway.
that.
Or maybe one thing that we see in the coming on next week is we see a sailboat So maybe Michonne's going to get up on the sailboat, and that's how it'll end.
And I'll be playing Christopher Cross in the background, sailing.
Until one day she's, she's going along the coast, and all of a sudden she sees Michonne. It's Rick. I haven't been able to get to you because I got no legs.
Check out my new girlfriend, Jadis.
Oh God. Different from picture. I was cleaning out the sound effects on the soundboard, and there was one where she says different from picture.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway. Dieta, she had a couple. She says, I think she is going to see Negan as a Whisperer and try to save him, thinking he needs saving, but they actually end up working together to bring down the Whisperers. I think, is she talking about Carol? Carol or
Lydia? Or Lydia, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked back at the feedback, and I believe that she's talking about Lydia there. So
yeah,
she thinks that Lydia is going to see Negan as Whisperer and try to save him. That actually makes a lot of sense. But anyway, Carol is going to get her revenge on Alpha with Daryl's help, and Negan and Beta will duke it out with Lucille 2.0.
That's a good thought. I like that.
Yeah. All right, so you've got some predictions?
Yeah, well, I have a few more, considering I already broke open one before. Well, this prediction for the next episode is not known. Father G is sent by Rosita to look for Siddiq, and Father G is attacked by the new Zed Siddiq, and he gets bitten. Or eaten. Then Gamma tries to steal her quote-unquote nephew after Aaron brings her to see the baby. Think about her interest in the child, remember? In the episode. So that could be a way. Yeah. And, of course, then there's my Scooby-Doo alternate take, which would be Carol and Daryl happen upon the Whisperer camp and see Alpha kill Lydia out of passion. Daryl gets Negan away after Negan's battle with Beta over killing Lydia. Or Alpha killing Lydia, that is. Carol kills Alpha and cuts her head off and takes it back to camp.
Well, yeah, I like the, well, I don't like it, but I like from the story angle, the idea of Siddiq, getting Father Gabriel. I'm hoping, based on that one scene we see, that we're going to see Siddiq get found by Rosita, and hopefully Rosita doesn't get bitten. But I'm more thinking that one of them is going to, take out Siddiq, and somebody will get startled by Siddiq. But I'm hoping that he doesn't take out anybody. Okay, so I'll have one prediction, and I'll tell you the things that I actually have seen. My prediction is that Maggie returns as a doctor.
What?
So that's what she's been doing with Georgie. She's been learning, and she's going to come back, knowing that Enid has died and now Siddiq has died. She's going to come back as a doctor. So,
or how about this one? What if we see Michonne grab the old Lucille and kill Dante?
Oh,
after she finds out what happens,
dude. That's you just picked up on something. We haven't seen that yet. That was something that was in the Comic-Con trailer.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. So, yeah, well, obviously she is going to get the bat, and if she doesn't kill Dante, she's going to kill somebody with it. So, yeah, that's a good suggestion. So, okay. So I hinted at this. So I'm just going to we're assuming that if you've listened to this point, you want to hear this stuff, but the cold open is available for anyone right now that has AMC Premiere. If it's not available now on YouTube, it will be available by the time you hear this.
Oh yeah.
And it will, there's a cold open where it features Dante, and all the questions that you're wondering, well, I don't know about all, but a lot of them, like, for example, how he ended up in Alexandria, how come Lydia doesn't know him, how he kind of sidles up and, comes in,
how he gets information out to the Whisperers,
how he gets the information out, what he does to tamper with the the taps, pretty much anything that you wondered. This gets shown in this particular cold open. So
yeah.
The things that I wondered, like, for example, the obviously they were filtering the water and doing it effectively, and it's only because of what Dante did were they vulnerable. Mind you, I still wonder why they didn't discover this until now, but still, because it's, well, I guess the thing is, like, oh, if you have any questions, come see Sadiq, who's too busy, or Eugene, who's not there. Still, you would think somebody would know. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
9.4998. Anyway, so what else? What else did we see? So yeah, they
old
don't
lady.
know. Oh yes. Oh yeah. He kills the old lady. Literally. He joined up with the Saviors. Literally just before the Pikes. So, like, in between the time that Lydia left and the time that I guess that the Pikes, that's when he, or he'd been an outsider, but that's why the Whisperer that dies, I don't think knew him, because he was very much a new person, not someone that Lydia would know, and I think Alpha even mentions this. So,
Or maybe
anyway,
was he a highwayman, do you think?
It's possible. I don't know. I tend to think that he was just a journeyman, not a highwayman. Somebody who had just, much like Sadiq, had just, come upon them and join up. So anyway, I can't think of anything else.
Me neither.
But other than the fact that I still think that Negan is, well, okay, I will say this last point. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Alpha dies this episode, and that the second half is going to be Whisperer War with Beta as the de facto leader, which I know is similar to how the comic goes. So
yeah. The all right, comic spoilers, everybody. You could skip ahead about 2 minutes or a minute. Basically,
we're already skipping ahead.
So basically, in the comic, in the show, Negan already broke out, was able to get outside, and Judith brings him back. In the comic, he only left once, and that was only. And then when he does leave, he encounters the Whisperers, winds up getting involved. We see him go through all the whole tests. Beta puts him through something similar in the comics. And then he gets close to Alpha, and then within that process, he winds up killing Alpha and taking her head back to the camp. So there is no Carol, there is no Daryl, there is... Lydia is not pretty much involved in that at all. She's still back in Alexandria. in the comics. So I think this is a full twist within the show because things get twisted within the show. Obviously, we did not know that Dante was a whisperer. In the comic, Dante was not a whisperer. And he was more...
I couldn't resist.
I know you couldn't. Yeah, Dante was more of a love interest to Maggie in the comic. And obviously there is no Maggie at this point. So we don't get that crossover, and that's why I think they utilized him as being a spy. And then dispatching Siddiq, where in the comic, Siddiq is still alive all the way till the end. So it's really sad that we lose Siddiq as a character in the show, but we've already lost a bunch of people that we didn't think in the show and in the comic. But I think they are going to twist it to a point where somebody different is going to kill Alpha. And I'm really betting on Carol. And if it's not Carol, then I'm curious to who. If it's Michonne with the bat, I don't know.
I don't know. I think if anybody's got skin in the game, it's going to be Carol.
Yeah. Well, she's got a vendetta.
Yeah, if anyone is going to kill Alpha, it's got to be Carol.
Yeah. Everybody wants to see that.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, there's so much difference right now, and the source material has been changed. So it's anybody's gamble, but these are our predictions, and you guys had your predictions, and, we'll see.
And with that, a very mammoth episode. With that, I'll just say, all right, so until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Mark.
And this is the Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everybody.
Good night.